lunch with me, Kelly Ransom. This broadcast is on day, I have no idea. If you're new to the broadcast, I started this at the beginning of getting locked down in Boston, Massachusetts. And I've been inviting my friends to join me for lunch every day to talk about what the hell's going on with them. For your entertainment. Yay! I think it's important to share people's stories and kind of create a time capsule of this ridiculous moment in time. So with that said, today's guest automatically put a smile on my face the second I saw him on the screen. I would like to introduce everyone to Ruddy Rower Camacho. Rudy!
Hey, how are you?
How's it going?
Going great. Just hanging out.
It's so good to see you. I love you so much.
It's really good to see you. I love the fact that your whole attire changes with every lunch. It's kind of nice.
Oh,
yeah.
That is the high compliment. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah, I do. I notice all the time.
Stop. So for those of you who don't know Rudy, what the hell's wrong with you? Rudy is a service industry professional. He lives in JP. And he is my favorite. Sorry, all my other bartender friends. He is my favorite bartender in the entire East Coast.
Oh gosh, making me blush.
You are. I love you.
I'm a brown guy.
Very excited to see you. He says that you're his favorite bartender too. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Good.
So I have to ask you, because I'm not entirely sure, what day is it?
It is Tuesday. The only reason I know that is because I recently just started working with Porto to put together meal kits for local hospitals and such.
That's awesome.
So this is, I get up at 7, I get picked up at 7:30 or start moving at 7:30, ride my bike, whatever, to get over to Porto. And then we make meals. Today we made over 250 burritos for local hospitals and such. So it was like literally an assembly line of burritos. Of course, Cinco de Mayo, right?
Right. Oh, right. I completely forgot that it's Cinco.
Yeah.
Happy Cinco de Mayo to those who celebrate, and happy birthday, Becca Williams.
Ooh, yeah. Becca.
Woo! So where's Porto?
Porto's in the Back Bay area. It's across the street from Stop and Shop. It's like right off of Huntington. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you've been like cooking?
No, I mean, I've been doing a little bit of everything. Like yesterday, I literally cut so many chicken breasts. Like I ended up getting like a callus on my forefinger on my right hand. I was like, how is this possible? I was like, I thought I could only it was crazy. And then today was just like an all around assembly line. So it was fun. It was cool.
Burritos are kind of fun to roll. I mean,
I was terrible at it. So we had the honorary person that knew how to roll a burrito do all of the burritos. So they were like, how many burritos do you want? He was like, I want 10. Because I deserve it.
I'm wondering, is there a way that we can, people watching at home can support Porto or?
So yeah, Porto is actually going to start doing a takeout program starting on Thursday. So in a couple of days, and it'll run. Yeah, it's great. And it'll run, I believe, Thursday through Saturday or Sunday. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. Like they have their menu on their website, and I'm actually going to share on my profile a couple of emails that were sent to me as far as like what they're going to be doing, what they're going to be offering on their menu and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love my local restaurants, but I'm getting ready to start branching out into other neighborhoods.
It's hard to like keep supporting local neighborhood businesses and such. Like, I mean, honestly, even in like JP, it's hard because a lot of places ended up closing down. And,
right.
So, but I mean, it's you just have to not accept it, but realize, recognize, and just process. And that's all you can do, and just be there when they reopen. I tell everyone that I talk to about just what's going on in general, that you're allowed to feel however you want to feel about what's going on right now. You can take whatever precautions that you need to take to feel safe. And, no one can say anything differently as far as like how you're supposed to feel, because there isn't any right way. There isn't a right way. No,
we don't know how to do this.
No, this hasn't happened. I mean, I've never experienced anything like this, But I'm actually at Porto. I'm at Porto right now. I took a break and they were like cool with it. I was like, all right, cool.
Oh, I love them. Yay, Porto. Well, definitely be eating there soon.
You
And
should.
I will try not to keep you as long as I keep the others.
You're fine. Yeah, I was like, I'll jump back and like do whatever you need me to. I mean, that's literally at this point, it's gonna be moving furniture and stuff like that, but it'll be fine.
So technically, you're an essential personnel right now, then.
I guess so. I mean, between this and I'm still 1 day a week at Remnant Brewery in Somerville. I'm there 1 day a week canning and just like setting up to goes, and it's kind of fun, but it's definitely a thing.
So people can go there and pick up beer.
People can pick up beer. I think Tuesday through Sunday they do a safe supply market of all of the little vendors that supply food in Bow Market, like 2 days a week, and like it's all sectioned out. Like there's a place for you to stand and wait, like there's a place for you to pay and wait, and like everything's very coordinated to once again make people feel as safe as they can while still supporting all these small businesses, because all of Bow Market is all independent small businesses that don't have a real huge like following. I mean, they do obviously. Remnant, Rebel, like all these places have like their following now, but it's like the only other place that has another location is Sauce.
Oh, right there in like Faneuil Hall, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, I didn't know that was going on, so thank you for telling me.
It's pretty fun. Those are my long bike ride days, so it's good.
Yeah, Somerville to JP, it's good.
A good 30 to 40 minutes. I get my cardio in,
Not me, but so how did this all go down for you way back in March?
So we started noticing a big trend as far as like very slow business. While I was at Porto, it was like everything was slowing down. We weren't making as much money because people were starting to develop a little bit of fear and like caution and all that, and it's great, it's warranted, it's totally what has to happen. And so when that started happening, they started cutting shifts, and then we got a schedule for the next week, and I think I was on for like maybe 2 shifts for the next week, and then I was working 1 day a week at Remnant, and like within an instant, like I'd lost my full-time job, which was Porto, and then like 2 or 3 other part-time gigs that like I pick up here and there. And
right.
It was gnarly. It was like it was almost like frightening. I remember riding my bike on March 13th from Remnant back to my house, knowing that the next week was it. I wasn't going to be working at all.
So how long did you stay before you went back to help with Porto?
As soon as they asked me to. As soon as Alyssa, which is one of my dearest friends and just a sweetheart of a person, she was like, "Hey, would you be interested in like helping out in the kitchen and like packing lunches and packing food for hospitals and such?" I was like, "Absolutely. Why wouldn't I? If I'm not doing that, I'd be either cooking for myself or trying to, because it's hard. It's hard. Like I don't cook, but I've been trying and I'm learning and doing little things.
You know your stuff though. You can talk food.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can talk food. I can, I can follow a recipe pretty well. I can bake. I can bake because it's all measured. I am a pretty good baker.
I suck at baking. I have not been like crying because everywhere's out of yeast and flour.
Hey, just throw a little couple of those tears. It'll salt it up real perfect. Automatic seasoning.
Cooking tips from Chef Ruddy today, guys.
Hey.
Use your tears as salt.
Oh my God, yeah, right. I mean, I just make a bunch of chicken. Like I'll break down and then like I'll buy a rotisserie chicken and I'll break it down and section it off into like meals. So I could probably get like 3-4 meals out of it.
Yeah.
And then I'll save the carcass, throw it in the freezer, and then once like all my veggies go down, like I'll throw everything, make a big stock, and then I'll actually like put it in ice cubes, and then I'll just throw those in the freezer, and then like, yeah. Dude, all day. Like, I feel a little peckish at like 2 a.m. I'll just like throw 4 ice cubes into like into a pot. Dude, no, I'll throw it into a pot, melt it down with a little water, and like I'll literally drink chicken stock.
It's good for you.
I call it chicken tea.
All right, everyone. So we're gonna cry into our baking, and we're gonna drink chicken tea.
It's great. I mean, it's one of the best things I've ever learned to make, just because like even like simple things like rice made with chicken stock instead of water tastes 13 times better. Yeah, exactly.
I do it with in the summer. My ice cube trick is I will freeze coffee so I can make iced coffee, and then you just get more coffee. It doesn't get watered down.
That's dope. That's nice. I've actually heard people doing the same thing with like putting berries and strawberries like in your ice cubes, and then you just let them.
Yes, there's so much you can do with ice.
There's so much things you can do with ice. It's pretty awesome.
We need an ice cookbook.
I know. I've actually I've just been looking up whatever I feel like cooking. I'll just like look it up, see if I have the ingredients. If I don't, I'll see what I can substitute, and then that'll be that.
I just went, so no one can tell because I am a professional. But I was running so late today. Usually I have my whole thing set up and ready to go, and bing, bang, boom on top of it. But I went to the supermarket today, and I'm only going every 3 weeks. And, there's been limits on paper towels and cleaning products and all that. But today was the first time that there was a limit on meat. So I could only get 2 packages of each meat, which is a little scary to think about in the future. Yeah. And we left at 7:50 a.m. And by the time I looked at, so we go and we wipe everything down, and you have to wait in line and blah, blah, blah. By the time I looked at the clock, it was like 11. And the process had not even been totally completed. I had to have Christopher finish cleaning the vegetables. So.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
It is.
But I got everything that I needed. So, but substitutions are great too.
Yeah.
It makes you a better cook because you have to learn to adapt.
So I've kind of tried to not go to the grocery store at all. Like I'm trying to go to like my local bodega and so a bunch of us, it was like 5 or 6 of us that went in on buying it was like a big order of meat that we got like through a restaurant friend. And
awesome.
We literally, we broke everything down. I ended up getting like 2 pounds of ground beef, like 2+ pounds of sirloin, like a bunch of stuff. And it's still going, like some haddock, all that stuff. So it's like the proteins are all taken care of. Rice I have so much of, and vegetables is the only thing I have to worry about. And even then, I work through I go through Misfit Market.
I heard great things about that place.
They're so good. I guess I grandfathered in. I get to choose what groceries I want. It used to be whatever they have available, they'll send you.
Yeah.
But I'll go every 2 weeks and order what I like, and it's perfect. I literally don't have to go to the store other than getting milk, butter, cheesecloth, flour, and even then I can go to local places that'll have that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the bodegas have been pretty good.
Dude, they're awesome. I love my little bodega. The one right next to Chilicates in Stony Brook, right on the corner.
Oh yeah, Supreme.
Yeah, those guys are awesome.
They're great.
Yeah.
They used to have they probably don't have them right now, or maybe they do. But at the counter they'd have baked goods.
Pastelitos.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all day.
They still have them.
I didn't check last time. I just went for I literally just went for, what did I go for? Oh, I went for chocolate chips because I was making cookies.
I can't believe I made it through this whole thing so far without having chilicates yet.
They're great. They deliver and you can pick up.
We're gonna have to do that.
They make great. I mean, I sometimes feel like 4 tacos al pastor immediately.
Yep.
And I'm like,
their al pastor is the best.
Oh, so good. So good. Can't go wrong.
So you've been in the service industry for how long, you think?
We're pushing 20 years now.
Holy shit, Rudy.
I'm an old man.
You're a lifer.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it past 10. I was like, that's it. Well, no, maybe it was 11, 12 with the serving and the bartending, but no.
So mine started when I went to school finished high school in Bolivia, internationally. And then when I got to college is when I first got my feet wet into the service industry, because I was part of my scholarship was to work on campus. And obviously I chose to work in the dining hall.
Yeah.
And so that was 2000. So yeah, 20 years.
Oh my God, Rudy.
Crazy.
So you have a lot of knowledge and insight and experience, and I'm just curious how you think the industry is going to have to adapt. What's your take on it?
It's hard. It's hard for me to say that once everything is accessible, that we're going to go right back to normal. And I hate to say it, and it just puts me in a position where I'm just going to be out of either developing new skills or what have you, and going elsewhere as far as like work goes, or like adapting, which it's going to be tough. It's a matter of are you going to keep the social distancing a thing? Is it only going to be takeout? Like all these things are a factor. So it's kind of gnarly.
Like, how do you, just if you had to make something up, like how do you envision a bar working? Like me and my dad, I've been having this conversation with other people off camera, but like, how does a bar work when you have to socially distant?
I mean, think about it. If you have if you were to take, let's say, the Galway house.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm thinking.
And take all of those stools out, because you can't have stools there. It promotes people staying there. And like, if you do have stools, you're going to have them 6 feet apart, which then you're turning a bar that holds 25, 30 people to like something that holds like 9, maybe 10 people. And so then you're thinking like, oh, well, is it going to be worth it? Am I going to be paid more hourly? Is that where it's going to change? Like, so that's where you're going to have to factor in, like Europe, for instance, the fact that they already pay their employees like a reasonable wage. That might have to be where we have to go with this, where we're no longer going to be like
conflicting thoughts about the whole thing. Like, yes, they should be. Yes, I believe service industry workers should be getting paid, a fair hourly wage. But then at the same time, I don't want tipping to go away, because there's a lot of, bartenders, servers who, they're going to make, say they make $15 an hour, they're going to actually make less than they would with tips. But then again, tipping, like, I've always thought was kind of sexist and can be racist and can, just like people don't tip because of the biases that they have against the person, the way the person looks who's serving them, or people just don't tip it. I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Well, it's you have to think about it in like different ways, whether you're going to work into a corporate place where, like you're going to you will most likely not see the person that you're serving continuously. Or as my experience, where I actually felt that neighborhood bars and restaurants where you do develop rapport and you do have regulars and you do have friends that just honestly you just can't stop and talk to them for 25, 30 minutes throughout your entire shift. Like it just goes and goes and goes. And then like for me, like working in places that were service industry prone, like at the very end of the night, like the Galway or the Frogmore, where you would literally have like, you'd literally make all your money. You would make your money after midnight.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I would honestly, like, I remember working at the Frogmore, and I'd probably have like maybe 20, 25 guests that I'd take care of, like up until like 10. Obviously when I first started there, that's how it was. And then you would just like clean house at the end, because everyone who would get out of work would go visit you, and they knew you were open late, and they knew you served food till 1:30. And that's the same way it went with the Galway, it's the way it works.
Well, I mean, and you, for a lifer like you, I know certain bartenders that like you say where you're going and that you're working that shift, and like I'll go see you because I love seeing you and you're an amazing bartender and I like your drinks, and it's just different. It's different, but
It is.
You don't know every bartender.
You don't. Like it's one of those things. Like I'm one of those one of those patrons, when I want to be alone, I'll go to a bar where I don't know anybody.
Same.
And then I'll just like, let me just have my beer, have my neat pour of whiskey, and just like think about my day. What happens though is after your third time doing that to the same bar, they'll like automatically already bring you your beer and your shot, and you're like,
you're kind of a regular.
Now you're a regular, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't want this, but I did want this. So it's like a double-edged sword where you're like, I want to be recognized as like a good tipper and a good guest, but at the same time, like, leave me alone.
You just made me have a feeling that I haven't felt this like whole lockdown time of Well, also because I haven't been seeing people at all.
Yeah.
But that feeling, that's a very specific feeling that you get when you walk into a bar.
Yeah.
And they know you, and you know the people there, and you're gonna just like sit for a couple of hours and shoot the shit and do some shots. Like, I miss that. Damn.
I know that was one of the things that you fell in love with. I remember being, I remember coming back to the States and moving in with my mom, and like when I wanted to go back into restaurants, it was like 2001, 2002, and I was going in between college, so Boston and Ohio, and me hanging out. It was honestly that we were at a Fridays, and I saw the bartender at Fridays, just like talking all this shop and just like having a great time, having a great smile. I was like, man, I kind of want to do that. Like, that's where I want to do. I want to just like hang out and like talk about everything and nothing, like it's great. So those are those feelings that never go away. And those are the moments that you're like, I definitely want to do this, or I don't want to do this, or I'm enjoying this, or, it changes.
I had, you probably know Dimitri. I had Dimitri on. He's a bartender here.
Oh, really?
He was on like a week ago, and he said that when he used to bartend, he'd feel like he was on stage. Do you get that feeling, or?
Yeah, you definitely do. And yeah, absolutely. People just like, so it was like when I worked with Nikki, people always would say, they'd be like, geez, you guys have like great chemistry, like your banter back and forth.
Together.
It was awesome. It was like great. And so like you always notice that people are listening while you're having random conversations, but you'll throw in the like outlandish remark to see what people will do. Like if they'll look up and be like, because you notice it. Like I have great peripheral vision and I can tell. I'm like, yeah, that guy's eavesdropping on my conversation.
Yeah.
Get out of my pudding. What are you doing?
I can't help but do that now, period. Like anywhere from, serving and bartending, you can't not, I don't know. I'm always eavesdropping.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you do, but there, I know, like I definitely do, but it's more like I'll just like keep my head down or like if I hear something.
I don't want to interact, but I can't.
I'm not going to interact. I'll hear something ridiculous by another guest, and I'll just like put my hand on my head, and I'm just like, oh my god, what are you saying?
We noticed it's so weird sometimes because Christopher is still in the industry, cooking and stuff, but even when we went to Key West, even when we went to New Orleans and we went to certain bars, I don't know if the bartenders were eavesdropping on our conversations or because I ordered like a Montenegro or a Finette or something, but like I feel like other industry workers can always end up talking to me and Christopher and realizing that we are too, and like that's how we make friends. But it's just weird. It's like a sixth sense.
Oh, you can definitely tell. Or like they'll just know. Like what I used to do when I would get out of work. Honestly, it's honest. It's kind of like, I had a rough day, and just I want you to listen to me. I'd take my wine key out and like take my speed opener out, put it on the bar, and they're like, oh, where do you work? And I'm like, boom, there we go. All right, instant conversation. Hello, friendship. How are you?
Susan Rice is watching right now, and she's a lifer bartender too. Saying that as soon as you order those, we know.
It's true. It's automatically true.
We have gone places where we're not trying. We're just trying to have a date, and we're having conversation, and naturally we just talk about work and his work and stuff, and like all of a sudden, those drinks are on us. I'm like, we weren't even talking to you.
All right, thanks.
It's like a big giant freaking family, no matter where you go.
It is. I mean, that's honestly like, that's how I've recently gotten a lot of my jobs, like people like, hey, do you want to work this? Or, hey, would you be interested in this? And, like people say like, I honestly work too much or I'm always working. It's because someone's always like, hey, would you mind doing this or that? Right. Like I ran into this guy from the Galway yesterday, Paul, and he ended up asking me randomly. He was like, hey, would you mind bartending my wife's 50th birthday party? I was like, sure, why not? And like, I just went to his house, had a cooler, just like making cocktails. It was fun. It was fine. But like, those are the little things that you're like, oh, that's another shift I don't have to worry about. And like, I'm done in like 4 hours, 5, it's fun.
It is.
Yeah.
And you're so good at it. You're the best at it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I'm curious, what's the first thing that you're going to do when things not go back to normal, but ease up a little bit?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I want to go visit all my friends that work at different spots and this, that, and the other. Like that, honestly, like if we're talking just restaurants and bars.
Yeah.
But like, it's almost like that fearful thing where you're like, are they going to be open? Like, are they going to survive?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like one of those things where you're like, I don't want anyone to like lose their job or anything like that. And so, I mean, it's places that definitely like let their staff know. Like there was a meeting yesterday with Remnant that they were like, don't worry about it. We're gonna be totally fine. Everyone will have their job. You know, they're really communicative. Like they're really nice about like making sure everybody knows what's going on and everyone's in the loop. And you know, they're like, hey, they're like, oh, you want to can a couple beers for yourself? Go ahead, like take it. I'm like, cool, awesome. Yeah, Brittany is by far one of my favorites. I met her.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, Brittany used to bartend at the Bean, and we developed a friendship. And randomly, she was like, "Hey, would you mind like what did she say? She's like, would you mind working the Boston Public Market? We're gonna have a table, and all you're doing is selling 2 beers that we're gonna have little kegs for you." And I was like, "Fine," and I did for 2 months. And then it was over. And then I noticed on the schedule because they put you like they use 7 shifts, which is like a app that you can just pick up shifts or not. And I was like, hey, there's all these open shifts at the brewery, not at the Boston Public Market. Can I pick them up? She's like, yeah, go ahead. And so then 2 weeks later, I had an orientation, and then I was like hired officially.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've been around.
I have been around. I have. You know, like, you know, I mean, I guess Reds was great. I mean, yeah, Reds was awesome. Galway was great. Frogmore, like all these places were awesome.
And I hope that they're gonna be open soon.
Well, Charlie Red from Reds and Rozzy no longer has that location, but he opened up another place in Somerville.
It's a pizza place, right?
Dragon Pizza. Dude, their pizza is ridiculous. And he's still open, and he'll bike it anywhere in Somerville.
He's such a G.
He is like one of the most insane but like genius individuals that you're like, whoa, man, you're a cool guy. And like his pizza is top notch. Like I love. I mean,
I haven't had it, but I saw they did a story on them on one of those.
Yeah, no, they are crushing it. You know, they are definitely crushing it.
I'm laughing at Susan's about our previous conversation that it's like gaydar for serviceful.
Yeah, it is. You're like, oh my god, it's a real thing. Your spidey sense goes off. You're like, oh yeah.
I haven't used my gaydar in so long. I haven't been out. God damn it.
It doesn't go away. Don't worry.
So, okay, it's Cinco de Mayo. You don't have to give Cinco de Mayo drink recommendations, but I'm curious, what are some drinks that, you know, everyone's probably at home, kind of maybe sick and tired of drinking the same drink, maybe.
Yeah.
What is something that they can do to spice it up a bit, have something different that's easy?
Okay, so I'm one of those weirdos that I'll like literally go, when I used to go to the Bean on like a Saturday day, I'd have the day off and I'd be like, show up. And it would be, who would be on Saturdays? That would vary. I think it was Mike Condon. I love that man so much. It would be the Irish Sessions on Saturdays. I would show up, sit down at the number 1 spot right next to the dartboard, and he'd be like, hey, do you want a Man Mosa? I was like, what? I was like, yeah, well, I do want a Man Mosa. So it's basically like he'd like pour out a little beer for me, top it off with OJ, and honestly, it's like a little Man Mosa. It's delicious at the glass. You know, it's like when Adam used to do it, Adam Wells used to do it, he'd say, make a little room for me. I would be like, I felt dirty, but also at the same time, I was like, cool. But that's one. Oh yeah, they call them Mimosa, they call them Brass Monkeys, you know, like.
Yep. I definitely had that back in the day when I, you know, in my 20s when I'd wake up hungover. Dude,
it's the best. It's so refreshing. It's delicious.
It is delicious, actually. Yeah, and I hate champagne or Prosecco. I don't really look. So it's my preferred.
It's the way to go. Honestly, it's the way to go. Or like, you know, I always have like at least a little bit of whiskey in my house. I always go with cheap rye whiskey, but I'll always make a little Manhattan with a little, you know, big ice cube because I make my own big ice cubes. I got the 2 different types of bitters. I do it right.
Bitters are like a whole thing.
It's a whole different world. I only carry 2. I do the Angostura and I do the black walnut bitters.
I have Angostura and Peychaud, right?
Ooh, yeah, Peychaud's bitters.
Yeah.
Nice.
Those are like, if I'm feeling like, I make a couple of different types of Manhattans for myself. So I don't know. I have to, those like kind of punch you in the face. Not in an alcohol way, just like flavor.
Yeah.
I'll use those in a Manhattan, but.
You should. Definitely the Angostura, but if you want
What's
a
your
little twist.
drink?
My drink is a Boulevardier, which is basically a Negroni, but instead of gin, you use whiskey.
Oh.
And I always do a nice little orange zest.
Is that with Campari?
So yeah, so it's equal parts. So it's all equal parts. So usually a Negroni, gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari. In this case, it would be equal parts rye, Campari, sweet vermouth. I always recommend Punta Mes or Antica, the nice top shelf little sweet vermouth. And I always say orange zest is great if you really want to get nice and fancy.
Yeah.
Do a little burnt orange zest is the way to go. Oof. Yeah.
I wish you were on the Friday show, not the Tuesday show.
Hey,
I want to drink right now.
I mean, once again, you're allowed to feel however you want to feel about what's going on right now. If you feel like you want a cocktail on Tuesday, you should go ahead and make that Tequila Tuesday happen.
I have to wait until 5 because I'm fortunate enough to work 9 to 5 from home during the week.
That's good. That's great.
This is my lunch break.
Good.
Yeah, it's fabulous. I love it. It's so wonderful.
That's a lot of fun. Lots of fun.
So do you have any recommendations for cooking?
I always say,
You did do the chicken cubes, so that's
I
pretty
did
good.
do the chicken cubes. Those are great. I mean, I always say if you don't have a cast iron, you should learn to use your cast iron. Finish everything off in a cast iron in the oven. So ridiculous. Like,
Don't put it in the dishwasher.
Don't be a dum-dum and put it in the dishwasher. Who does this nowadays? There's literally like so many videos on it, and I was nervous on how to use my cast iron. So I definitely like messed 2 up, and then I had to reseason it and everything.
I've messed like at least 3 up.
Well, so I bought a whole trio set that had like a tiny one, a bigger one, and then the large one.
Yeah.
And for the large one, I use for like, pork chops, or if I'm doing like scallops with like cherry tomatoes and all that good stuff. Oh, girl, you don't even know. I get crazy. Or I've been making like a little backstory on this. We went to Nantucket for Miles and Dana's wedding. And we rented a house. It was like literally, it was like 10, 12 of us in a house. We rented this beautiful like 10-bedroom house, and a group of us, it was mainly like Janae made some, she's like one of my Facebook friends. She lives in Rosendale. She's actually an extremely talented baker, and she ended up making like hash browns, but she did them in a cast iron and like flipped it over and finished it on the cast iron, and it had like chives and onions. It was like so delicious. It was ridiculously. We had it every day that we were there. So we just bought like a big thing, and so we were just like cutting up hash browns. Like we were making like little triangle cakes of hash brown with eggs.
Oh my god, that sounds so good.
Oh, it's so good. And so I tried to do it at my house once I got these cast irons, and like it just like disintegrated and like. And so I kept the chat that we had, like, because we were all trying to schedule, like, how was everybody was going to pay for their house. So I went back on that chat that we hadn't used in months, and I was like, hey, so I tried to make these hash browns. Like, can you guys give me recommendations? And like, literally, like, so many messages came up of like, make sure your pan's hot, make sure to use enough oil, like all these like little tidbits that I just saved. And I was like, cool. All right, so hash browns are going to be great. Yeah. So yeah, that's another one.
Now I'm hungry and I want to drink.
Well, I have that. Between burritos and like talking about food, I'm pretty hungry.
God damn it, Rudy.
I know. Okay.
So when you're not working and you're not cooking, and you're at home, are you watching any TV, movies?
I am.
Reading?
I am. So and this is actually kind of cool. The first 30 days that everything was in lockdown, a friend of mine was having like porch music sessions, like every night at 7 p.m. They were having like these porch sessions that would be 5 songs long. One song was always dedicated to like being coronavirus themed. Like they would change lyrics like that same day, and like they did it for 30 days straight.
Wow.
Like playing music in rain, sun, like any weather that was out there, whether it was cold, they were performing every day. And so for the first 30 days, I would wake up and I wouldn't be able to sleep until like 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning. Like I was having a tough time.
Yeah.
And I would always wake up and be like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm like level-headed and like calm and protected and like feeling okay about my day. And I would make sure that go every day. And I ended up making a playlist of all of the songs that they performed. And it became into like a playlist of like 8 hours long. And it's pretty cool. Like there's some really cool things on there. Yeah, if you follow me on Spotify, it's a public playlist. It's beautiful. It's called Quarantine Porch Sessions. Mind Your Shoes.
I am going to put that on while I work.
Yeah, there's some really, really cool things on there. Like really like things you wouldn't assume that were on there, Dolly Parton, like it's kind of cool. It's insane. Yeah. Joe Wyatt is a genius. Like Brian, Joe, Una, Ruben, like those 4 people, they would like constantly talk to people about making sure to wear gloves, making sure to be socially distant,
That's so
making sure to wear
awesome.
masks. Like they're very, very like good people for doing this out of their home, taking the time to learn these songs and practice. Like they were actually practicing. Like it brought a lot of joy to me, and I know it like I would stream it and people were watching it and like, and there was like so many, I would look at it later on and there would be like 200, 300 views of like the one session. I was like, cool, this is what you want, So if you want, like they are still available. If you want, I can share them with you, but they're pretty available if you ever want to check them out.
I love it.
Yeah, now they perform every Friday.
That's
once
so
a week.
Great. That's very different from the Tiger Kings and the.
They actually did. So they covered it. They changed the lyrics to that Tiger King song. It was awesome. It's so good.
Oh, I love that. All right, everyone. We have to watch those.
It's great. They're awesome. They're streamed every Friday. I don't know how long they'll do it for at this point, but I've shared them all on the Brendan Bean Facebook page, and yeah, it's pretty good. And then other than that, I've been trying to just stay busy. So there's a group chat that happens every day for us. Like there's like 6 or 7 of us on this group chat, and like for instance, like Hockey Steve texted at 7:59 this morning. Luckily, I was already awake working, like getting ready for work. But it said, "Hello, good morning, children. Happy Cinco de Mayo." And it was like just a very sweet thing to do because, Hockey Steve. It's like we're all gonna hear about this, and we're all gonna know what's going on, and we're all gonna stay constantly in contact with each other and talk about what we're gonna do.
Following the Linden eggplant saga.
Dude, isn't that ridiculous?
Oh my god!
It's probably one of my favorite things to see. He's like, well, today I got another package. Oh my god. It's just
for those of you who don't know, our friend Lyndon, I don't know the backstory. I don't know how it started. There's people out there who probably know more than I do, but he has been getting all sorts of different eggplant shaped things and items mailed to his house every day.
Oh, they call him Lindong.
Lindong.
Ling Dong, like D-O-N-G. It's great. I mean, I remember first seeing like eggplants around him when he would say something. He would make a comment on Facebook on somebody's like feed or anything, and like people were just like multiple eggplants. Oh god, it was hilarious. And then he started being like, ridiculous is ridiculous, and like it's like poking the bear. It's like you keep doing it, you're gonna get more and more eggplants happening. So now he's getting stuffed animals that are in the shape of eggplants. He even got a bowl that was an eggplant bowl.
The chalice was crazy. It was like 2 eggplants.
And then I remember seeing.
You're probably gonna hate me for asking you this, but I'm just wondering if you still have those Bruins tickets.
I hate everything having to do with that stream. If anybody doesn't know, out of the goodness of my heart, one evening someone offers me Bruins tickets while I was working at the Galway. They're like, "Hey, do you know anyone who wants these tickets? The game starts in 30 minutes. I was like, I can put it on Facebook and see who wants it. Good, nice guy. I could have like sold them, could have been a nice, and I put it on Facebook, and the first comment that goes on is the game starts at 7. That's in 15 minutes. And I was like, yeah. And then a minute later it goes 14 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And then it's kept on going and going. And then people were asking me the next day, they're like, hey, you still got those Bruins tickets? And then it was like, hey, I'll take those Bruin tickets for yesterday if you want to. It's just like it steamrolled into this like snowball of a thing where I literally will get notified of somebody making a comment.
It just pops up once in a while.
Usually Hockey Steve, he's like, hey, bro, you still got those Bruins tickets? I'm like, oh.
How long ago was it?
It's now been over 4 years.
Oh my, no way!
Yeah, I think so.
It's even funnier.
Because this is when I was working at the Galway. I think Deb was working with me at that point. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
I will just randomly pop up on my news feed. You know how it does for you, and I'll just lose it. I'll lose it. I don't know why it's so funny. It's the stupidest thing.
There's so many freaking comments on this thing. It's like unreal. But I think they continue to enjoy it because of the fact that they see me get a little upset about it. So
yeah.
I think I do it for that fact too. Like I'll be like, all right, let me just go grumble and act all mad. But in the end, it's pretty hilarious because
I remember that thing's gonna come alive today. Watch.
Oh, it definitely will. It probably will. Hockey Steve the other day was like, he was like, Rudy, why weren't we friends 7 years ago? Which his comment 7 years ago was like, I wish somebody had tickets to the Bruins tonight. I was like, oh, you're such a jerk.
I can't. Oh, okay. Oh. So I asked everyone this question because I think it's important to talk about what have you been doing or not been doing for your mental health during all of this?
I've been trying to constantly talk to people. I've been trying to call everyone that I can, telling them that I care about them, telling them that, like if they need anything, or like I've been, a couple times here and there, I'll cook for somebody, or I'll drop off like chicken stock cubes, or I'll drop off like special cookies and be like, here, only eat half, please don't hurt yourself, stuff like that. Those things will knock you out. Like they put you to sleep. And like sometimes like myself, I have trouble sleeping sometimes.
Right.
Like, especially right now, because I feel overwhelmed and it's anxiety, it's nervousness, it's fear, it's a lot of different things. But for the most part, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Like I don't, I know very close people that have tested positive, and like it was a fearful thing where even like my mom was in contact with one of these people, and it's like, you can't be upset. It just happens. And like you tell your mom, you're like, hey mom, go get tested, make sure you're okay. And luckily she did come out okay, and like she's fine. But she was being that trooper of like, oh, I'm gonna go out and venture out into the world and still wear my mask and wear my gloves and everything, but I'm going to go and drop off food for she dropped off food for me multiple times, and it's really sweet and I love her for it. But at the same time, I don't want her to put herself at risk. And so that's where I was like, I literally called her once I found out. I was like, Mom, please do not leave your house if you don't have to. Like, so that's that.
That's nice that you've been like cooking for people. And
I mean, I don't cook that much for people, but I mean, I'll do what I can.
Every little bit of helps, and it's just nice.
Yeah, agreed.
What you're doing with Porto is amazing, feeding our healthcare workers.
Yeah, it was just interesting watching the burrito lineup happen. It was like awesome. I was like, whoa, this is factory style stuff. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it was gnarly. It was good. But yeah.
So for those of you who are new to the show or whatever, or never actually made it to the end of one of these broadcasts, I always give the guests the opportunity to have the final word. So I put on sunglasses and shut the hell up, and the guest gets to say whatever they want. They can be inspirational, they can vent, they can tell jokes, they can dance, they can sing. I don't care what they do. I think it's important for them to have the final word. So, Rudy, my love, the floor is yours.
I appreciate that. I mean, as far as anything goes, I just think people should be vocal about how they feel. They should express if they have fears, if they have concerns, if they have doubts. Like it's also the same question where people are like, well, why are you going to work? You shouldn't be working. You shouldn't be doing this. I like to tell people, I'm like, I A, live alone, B, I don't have any animals or pets, and I am one of those super social people that I hug like nobody's business. I am a huge hugger, and to not have hugged anyone in over a month it makes me I feel like the first time I do it, I'm gonna cry. Like that's probably the first thing I'm gonna do when this whole thing is over. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry in the arms of like my closest friends, and I'm getting puppy already. But yeah, that's pretty much what I like to tell people is like you're allowed to feel however you want to feel, um, and you should. I mean, I try to be as vocal as I can with my friends, and they're really good with me as far as checking in on me and asking me if I'm okay. Like there was like a backlog of my unemployment coming through. Like it literally was like 3 weeks. And I felt so nervous on what the next step was and what was going to happen. I was very lucky that my landlord was very understanding and was like, he checked on me and he was like, Rudy, are you okay? And I was like, yep, I'm totally fine. I was like, honestly, I was very embarrassed and I didn't know how to contact you to tell you that I can't pay you rent. He was like, let me know when your situation changes. And, you know, it was like, okay, good, that thing's done. And then like you'd get your notification from your phone company saying, set up a payment date that you can do it. And I checked through AT&T and they were like, set up a date. And I kept on going past the months. June 6th. I was like, awesome. Yes, I can do this. And then my utilities, they were like, just keep in contact with us. So all of it happened in a way where I was like sitting on almost $2,000 to like live off of and no assurance that I was going to get any more money.
Yeah.
And that was going to have to be my net. That was where I was going to be like, all right, I need to make this last as much as possible. And I did. And then all of my unemployment came in all at once, like 3 weeks worth. And I have to file every week. But it's very good because like the first person I contacted was my landlord, and I was like, hey, it all got approved. I'm gonna be sending you rent again, and I'm gonna try to catch up. And like I want to get everything to zero by the time this whole thing ends up. So
yeah.
that's important for people to feel some sort of like relief and I can breathe again and I can start planning. And that was the one thing with me is like the first thing I said when it got approved is I never want to feel that helpless ever again. And I'm one of those people that like, if I can work, I'll work and I will find whatever work I can find and I'll do whatever. But the simple fact that that wasn't an option was very scary for me, you know? So I guess with that is just, I want people to know that, you know, if you have friends that care about you, make sure that you're telling them that you care about them and stay in contact with family, stay busy, read, do puzzles, cook as much as you can, share recipes. You know, I at first I thought I was just gonna drink the entire time. No, I actually have like a cocktail now at night, and that'll be that. Like last night, I fell asleep at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and I literally like woke up at 1 o'clock this morning, and I was like, oh, that was my sleep. I was like, what am I gonna do now? I guess I'm gonna watch 3 movies in a row, and I did. Don't ask me what they were because some of them were terrible. And by terrible, I mean I watched The Pacifier with fucking Vin Diesel today. It's terrible. Yeah, I watch all. I watched The Long King Polly. I watched the documentary with Bird and it was Larry Bird. It was actually the ultimate Boston movie. It was like documentary between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then I ended up, as I was getting picked up to get to work, it was like I started watching Hangover 2. So there's stuff like that. Very practical, very good, you know. But yeah, so yeah, that's my final word, I guess. If anything, is just be safe, be smart, be loving, and tell your people that you care about them.
Yes, Rudy, and I care about you so much.
For
those of you who know me well, I fucking hate being hugged. I hate being touched. Don't come near me. Ugh. But every time I see Rudy, I have people who have been with me who are like, who is this kid? Why does he get hugged? I am not a hugger or a toucher or anything. But Rudy has the best hugs in the world, and I can't wait to tell you what they be.
Well, that's been fun. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for taking time out of your day working as an essential person to be on my silly cabin fever dream broadcast. Thank you everyone watching from home, now or later, liking, commenting, and sharing, all that fun stuff. Tomorrow, I hope you will tune in. My friend David Lightfoot Bello is going to be on, and he is an audio director for the Hip Hop Transformation, and we're going to talk about creative collaboration during all of this and working remotely with young artists. And I've been asking everyone to submit their own bio for what they want to say, what they want to talk about, but he failed to mention in his that he's a Boston Music Award winner this year.
Oh,
so
really?
I don't know why, but he left it out. But he's going to be on tomorrow. He's super talented. I love him dearly. Rudy, I love you again. Thank you so much. Everyone, please stay home, stay safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, and tell people that you care about them. It's important. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.